Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral.
NASCAR this week announcing 5 new members of its Hall of Fame. They will be officially inducted next May. Those chosen include the veteran car owner Bud Moore. His car's won 63 races and 2 Cup titles. The 1983 Cup Series champ, winner of 84 races, Bobby Allison. 2-time Cup Series champ, winner of 50 races. That, of course, being Ned Jarrett. And the patriarch of the Petty family, that's Lee Petty, first Daytona 500 winner, first 3-time winner of the championship. His son Richard inducted in the inaugural class. And this year's top vote getter, my next guest, the Silver Fox David Pearson, second on NASCAR's all-time win list with 105 victories. He, too, a 3-time champion. In 1976, he won one of the wildest Daytona 500s in history after he and rival Richard Petty crashed together in the last turn of the last lap. Tonight, it is my pleasure to welcome David Pearson back to Wind Tunnel. That gives me an opportunity to congratulate him on an honor well-deserved. David, thanks for your time tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and of course, I appreciate you just asking me to be on.
Given all the accomplishments of your career, where does this rank? Is this a big deal to you? A guy who doesn't really seek out the media attention?
Well, of course, it's a big deal, and I appreciate the people that did vote for me, and especially it being the NASCAR Museum and Hall of Fame. So that really means a lot to me.
There's been a fair bit of discussion this week about the selection, the process, at least in the media. The fact that Ned Jarrett and Bud Moore were selected over Darrell Waltrip and Cale Yarborough, both 3-time champions. Do you have an opinion about that? Why do you think the panel voted the way they did?
Well, that's something you never know. How they're going to vote. I didn't know I was going in either. Last year they swore up and down and wanted to bet me money that I'd go in last year. And they had me to come up there and all that stuff, but I didn't. So I was surprised. Well, I wasn't really surprised, but I heard the same thing again this year, and they had me to come up, and I said, well, I'll go, or I'm in or not. It don't really matter where you're the first one or whatever, as long as you get in. So I wasn't really sure till they pulled the name out of the hat, and said it was me.
You have one undisputed distinction. I believe that you are probably by several years the oldest member of the Hall of Fame to have raced recently. You tell me you didn't do any dirt track racing this year, but you did last year. What about the motorcycle? Have you raced your motorcycle at all in the last 12 months?
No, I don't guess I have, to tell you the truth. In fact, I haven't rode it very much, but it's sitting here in the shop.
What's the story about you and your buddy? Didn't you spend a bunch of money on your Harley so you could beat your buddy, or maybe it was the other way around?
Yeah, well, both of us spent money, I understand. Of course, we did run each other, and I did beat him. So next thing I knew, he had his and went to S&S and got his motor redone again. And in fact, I went over with him one day, and he was talking about what all he could do to it, and they said, you can't do nothing else unless you put a gas bottle on it. So anyway, when I found out they were doing that, I took my motor off and sent it to Pennsylvania and everything, and had mine redone and sent it to the people at Loomis, I think it is, and they was the one that built the motors, and everything for Harley's racing bikes. So I come back and I got him again. So
always competitive. I like that.
He finally decided. He finally took his motor off and sold it to his brother.
You back to the four-wheel business, and the reason we're really here. You won 3 NASCAR championships. Petty and Earnhardt have 7 each. These days, there's so much emphasis placed on the championship. And yet Sports Illustrated considers you, not them, to be the greatest stock car racer of all time. Explain how the championship was different back in your day and your approach to the championship.
Well, I don't know if it's any different or not. Of course, I run for it 3 times and I won it 3 times. But the year before that, we did run a lot of races, and we was just testing, getting ready, for that year. And I ended up winning it 3 times, and like I say, the 3rd, 4th time I won it. But the first time we were just testing and going to most of the races, but we didn't run them all.
And the most important point is there were a lot more races back then, and for most of your career, you kind of picked and chose. We'll elaborate on that. I need a commercial before we do that, and then we'll come back and talk about the statistical comparisons of the Silver Fox and the King. There is the Sports Illustrated cover, greatest driver of the century.
Election number 1, please welcome the Silver Fox, David Pearson, to the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
And tonight we are pleased to welcome the Silver Fox, David Pearson, back to Wind Tunnel. David, our statistician Greg Leary did the math. You ran close to the full season that we talked about before the break 4 times, won the championship 3 times. Your race winning percentage was 18.29%. If you had run as many races as Richard Petty and kept that percentage, you'd have 217 wins. Here's the question. A lot of fans consider the Pearson-Petty rivalry to be the greatest in stock car racing history. Was it a big deal to you in your prime? Was Richard the guy you most wanted to beat?
It probably was, because I felt like if I could outrun Richard, I was going to win the race. And, of course, I've heard him say the same thing about me. But we did have a lot of first and seconds, between us. And one good thing about that, I beat him more times than he beat me. But it was no rival or nothing like that. I mean, we didn't even think about that, or at least I didn't, and I'm sure he didn't. But he was, I guess, back then, he was probably my most competitive driver that I had to beat.
So who is the greatest driver, you or Petty?
Well, you know who he is. if you don't think, let me tell you this: if you don't think you is good or is better than anybody out there, you're gonna get beat.
There you go.
If you think somebody's better than you are, when he gets around you, you're gonna let him go or something. They say, well, he's better than I am. I'm gonna let him go. Stuff like that. But when I first, went to Charlotte and got in Ray Fox's car, which was the best car I'd ever been in, I said right then, this car don't know who's driving it, whether it's me or Fireball or Joe Weather or who it is. And I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And, of course, I ended up winning the race, and that's what made me feel that much better,
As you look at NASCAR today compared with NASCAR back when you were in your prime, what's the best thing and the worst thing that you see in the sport today?
Well, the best thing is the money that they pay now. Of course, they make more money now in one race than we probably did in a year, as far as that goes. And the worst things, the rules, according to me. Of course, I was talking to Jim Hunter one time, and I was fussing about the rules, didn't like the rules, didn't like nothing. He said, which ones? I said, all of them. He said, you didn't like them when you was running. So I guess that's probably the way everybody is,
You'd want to see it more wide open. I've got a 2-part question for you. If you were racing today, how would you do? And if Jimmie Johnson had raced back in your day, how would he have done?
He'd probably run second. I don't know. Jimmie, he's a smart driver. He really is. And he drives about like I did, or like I think I did, Anyway, he don't really push his car and all that stuff till it has to,
Final question. Is there one thing in your life or career of which you are the most proud?
Well, I like racing, and of course I always did. And I always said when I was smaller going to school, I said when I get old enough, that's what I was going to do for a living. And let me knock on wood, I've never rode an ambulance before, and I never got hurt. I mean, I've got hurt, but not really bad, and I've never broke a bone. And like I said, I've never rode an ambulance, and I appreciate that, and I don't know what it is or why it was. The good Lord just with me, I guess. But it was a lot of fun. And after it's all over with, I wish that I had run more races and maybe run for the championship more. Because I won it 3 times. I give each one of my boys the ring, and I needed to go back and do it again one more time so I'd have one.
Well, now you've got that Hall of Fame honor to wrap up and put the period on a great career. We congratulate you again on that. We appreciate your time tonight, David.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And what the heck, I've got 15 seconds left. Let me tell you that Sarah Marie is the newest tunnel head. Her parents left the show early to go to the hospital so that she could be born. Congratulations to all. I don't know if she's here yet, but we expect her to be tuned in next week. I'm Dave Despain. We'll be back next Sunday night. We'll be joining you on Wind Tunnel Extra at speed.com momentarily.